Hey everyone, Carolina Venom here. Today I'm taking a look at the Huawei Prism 2. This phone is from T-Mobile, and I'm going to give you the specs, the rundown of the phone, run some tests, tell you what I think about it, some of the pros and the cons, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, this phone is running Android 4.1.1. It has a 3.5-inch display with 480 by 320 pixels at 165 ppi. It does have a 3.2 megapixel camera on the rear. Video resolution is 640 by 480 max. It does have no autofocus and no flash. It does have a 1 gigahertz single core Snapdragon S1 processor with 512 megabytes of RAM, with 4 gigs of internal storage with 1 gigabyte available to user. It has a 1750 milliamp hour battery with around 7 hours of talk time and around 10 days of standby time. We'll go ahead and take you on the phone right fast like. It has no front facing camera, but it does have a notification light on the bottom here. You got your back, your home and recents button, and your menu button here. On the side, you got your micro USB charging port, your 3.5mm headset jack, your pretty small power button right there, your volume rocker on the side, your camera, and your rear speaker. We'll go ahead and power the phone on, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this phone is pretty slow at everything it does, so it will take a few minutes to get into everything on each thing that we do with this phone in this review. So we'll have to just wait. There may be some silence in between times, so we'll wait for this to power on, and we'll go ahead and get started with showing you some of the specs and some of the stuff inside the phone. Okay, waiting for the thing to pop up here to unlock it. Okay, this time the apps popped up on time. There's times when you power this phone on when all the apps and the whole screen will be blank, and it takes about maybe 20 seconds for all the apps to pop up, but right now it did seem to do pretty good. Scrolling on this phone is pretty laggy, as you can tell. It does freeze up and lag a lot. Going into your apps here, it's taking its own sweet time going into the different apps and stuff. Of course, when the phone does get a little bit warmed up and it is on for a few minutes, it does seem to smooth out some. But the initial startup and starting to work with it and play with it, it does take its own sweet time. Like I say, it does have a pretty small processor, and it's just pretty weak in general as we're sitting here. There we go. And scrolling, it does have some lag, as you see. It's not the fastest phone in the world by no means. These specs on this phone, would have been okay back in 2010, something like that. But in today's time, it's pretty weak and pretty outdated. The 3.5-inch display is okay. I don't really care much for a 3.5-inch display, but I have nothing against them either. I will use whatever as long as it's not under a 3.5-inch display. We'll go right now and do a benchmark test on it and go ahead and show you the speeds that I'm able to get. This phone, right now I'm in a no service area, as you can see right here. I am in a no service area actually, and there is times I can pull 1 and 2 bars of service, just depending on how I guess the wind's blowing and everything. And I can, but if you pick up the phone with service, it's going to drop the service, so it's best to use Bluetooth. But the main plus with T-Mobile is the fact that they do have Wi-Fi calling, and this phone does have Wi-Fi calling. So if you are in no service and you have Wi-Fi, then you are able to hook up to your Wi-Fi. Like if you live if inside your house you have no service, but outside you do, then you can actually use your Wi-Fi to make phone calls in your house. And and T-Mobile is the only one that offers that for free. So that's also a very awesome thing from T-Mobile. I just wish that T-Mobile had better service, better coverage in my neck of the woods, because that's probably who I'd be with, to be honest with you, if I was able to get out better. Even though Wi-Fi calling is nice, and you can receive very clear phone calls. I live in a 2G area, and as most of y'all know, 2G is very slow. And my best speed test in a 2G area with T-Mobile is like 0.02 megabits per second download. And as y'all well know, them speeds are virtually unusable. So, if they would actually, have more of a 3G, 4G would be even better. But even 3G, T-Mobile speeds are pretty decent, and they are better than a lot of the carriers out there. But anyway, we'll get into that here more later. Right now, speeds, mine is pulling 1,640, which, as you know, is a pretty low, pretty bare speed. It's just not very good. It's just a slow phone in general. Go into the browser here and pull up a website that I've already got typed in, and show you how the web browsing is. Not a very good experience with web browsing either. It's pretty slow and pretty laggy, and it does seem to want to hang up and freeze a lot. And it just takes its own sweet time, really, to do anything with this phone. So, froze up. There we go. Moving around now a little bit. It is still loading. Pinch to zoom. Well, it does work sometimes. Right now it's not working. There, see? It's doing things on its own. It is pretty laggy. I will go ahead and stop. And it does scroll, but it's just very bad. It's not good at all. So this phone is not very good for web browsing, because it does have a lot of lag in it, and you probably will end up throwing it against the wall, because it is very laggy and it is very slow. We'll go ahead and play a game here and kind of show you how the game works. Something with a pretty good size here and everything, and we'll see how the game plays. I played it earlier, and I was having trouble with the controls. It would not do what I wanted it to do. It had no reaction to it, so we'll see if it is any better this time than it was last time. So far it does seem to, play pretty decent. Not a whole lot of lag in it. This is one of them kind of phones that, this is one of them kind of phones where 1 minute it'll be laggy and slow, next minute it'll work fine. So it's just kind of one of them type of phones. But I really don't got much else to say about it. Some of the pros with this phone, is call quality. Call quality is really nice on this phone. It's really clear, really nice. The keyboard for text messaging is about like any other keyboard you see, and it's pretty easy to text on, even with big fingers. Actually, I'm able to text on it pretty good. Has pretty good autocorrection on it, and is able to type without many issues. And autocorrection, like I said, is good, and there really is no lag in text messaging. Phone calls are pretty simple as well. You know, you just have your standard there and everything. Nothing special. This is a pretty entry-level device, low end. You know, personally, if you were going to go for a prepaid phone with T-Mobile, I would definitely go with the Alcatel One Touch Evolve, which has a a better screen, bigger screen, front and rear cameras, and better processor, and it's just a better phone all the way around. And it is around the same price as this phone right here. This phone does range from around $50 to $70, which to me is a little expensive for this kind of phone here. I would not pay that for this phone and keep it. But the One Touch Evolve is a really nice phone, and that's what I would recommend. But if you are looking for a prepaid carrier right now, while T-Mobile is a good network, there are others like with Cricket, Verizon, Prepaid, Boost, Virgin Mobile, T-Mobile, and all of them. They have similar price plans, and they all have different phones, and sometimes you can find better deals in phones and stuff like that. I believe that all the prepaid carriers are trying to compete to see who can have the better price plans. So you pretty much have a pretty wide selection of prepaid phones, and really honestly for the price of this phone right here, you can get a really nice phone with a different carrier if you're looking for a prepaid service right now. But I'm not knocking this phone that bad. I mean, it's not my kind of phone. Like I said, it is buggy, it is laggy, it's not very fast. And some of the pros are call quality. It is a very solid built phone. It does seem to be very sturdy and very well made. That's a good thing as well. But reception is also very strong on this phone. So them are some of the pluses on this phone. Some of the cons would be the lag, the bugginess, the freezing, the short or the low RAM, and just a poor processor is pretty weak and slow. So all in all, I wouldn't recommend this phone for anybody who wants a phone that's going to work and work well. But everybody has their own opinion. Everything that I say is solely based on my opinion. And while it's not a terrible phone, it's just not a very good phone. So anyway, I hope it helps a little bit. Got any questions or comments about this phone, please feel free to ask me. Subscribe to my channel. I sure would appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, and we'll talk at you later.